There it goes. 3, 2, 1. What's happening, guys? This is Logan Robinson from Here the Spear, presented to you by NoleGameday.com. We're here live on a wonderful, fantastic Wednesday evening, and we're back. We've got a lot of news to talk about this week. We were just talking about in the production meeting. It's nice to actually have some worthy news to talk about and to discuss, and it's a lot better when you've got some big-time recruits picking to play for Florida State and Mike Norvell, and man, oh man, Florida State has been on a run in the last week. We will be discussing all of that. We've got a quarterback commit, very talented one, I must say, that we're going to be discussing here to start the show in just a few minutes. We've got a handful of other things regarding recruiting as well. Also, some other prospects picking other schools. We're going to talk Tramel Jones, Florida State's quarterback commit, participating in the Elite 11. And then also, too, we're going to run through a couple quick hitters, including Ryan Bartow no longer being with the program in Tallahassee with Florida State. One of your head guys in the recruiting side of things for Florida State, and Mike Norvell's staff will be discussing that and his departure from the team. And then we're going to talk some EA Sports College Football 2025. I know all of us on here will be playing that game for sure, but got some updates there on that end, including Doak Campbell Stadium being ranked at number 9 and the toughest places to play. They put out a top 10 and I think a top 25 too as well. But we'll be discussing our take on that. And then we've got some updates on Doak Campbell Stadium from athletic director Michael Alford. He's got some good comments here and giving us some good updates on what we should be expecting Doak Campbell Stadium to look like when we reach into that 2025 phase before Florida State kicks off the season against Alabama. But with me this evening is Dustin Lewis, our editor-in-chief at NoleGameday.com. And then up there above is Austin Veazey, our lead basketball writer. Gentlemen, happy Wednesday, and good to see you guys.
It's great to be here with you guys once again. And, we're starting to get that feeling, I think. Football's starting to get back in the air just a little bit. Mike Norvell, a couple weeks ago, whenever he was talking on Greg McElroy's Always College Football podcast, he said that Florida State was going to begin preseason camp on July 24th. And it's it is 4 weeks from today. So less than a month from getting back out there as the Seminoles prepare for that trip over to Ireland.
For me, it's NBA draft week. Still basketball content for a little bit. This, as I said with the NFL draft time is always one of my favorite times of the year. So even if the draft is going to suck this year because no one's really good, it's still going to be exciting to see all the player movement. And there's an outside chance Darren Green Jr. gets drafted of all people, but I'm not expecting that to happen.
Yeah, I was just about to say, no Noles tonight, huh?
Definitely not tonight. Maybe tomorrow in the 50s, but I doubt it.
Yeah, but hey, Dallas Mavericks. If you guys are Dallas Mavericks fans, go over there, MavericksGameday.com. Selfless plug there. But yeah, Veazey and them doing an incredible job after a very busy NBA playoffs run that they had to cover for the last month and a half. It feels like that was absolutely insane. And
which I guess we should mention, our guy Grant's over in Slovenia cover the national team and Luka Doncic. So we're global on Mavericks Game Day.
Literally global. So, y'all are doing a great job over there. But let's get back to some Florida State football talk, gentlemen, because we got a lot of recruiting to go over. Dustin's back in the groove. He said he's ready to get back out there in that heat. I saw it was 101 degrees up there in Tallahassee, which is just crazy to think of because I'm so far south than you, but it gets hot. And I remember how hot it gets up there in Tallahassee. But you're really looking forward to being out there, D-Lou. And I got to be honest with you, I'm jealous when you ever get to go out there first day, seeing some of the newcomers that we haven't even been able to see that weren't there in the spring. Some guys like Elijah Moore, who we talked about the last couple of episodes. There's a lot of intriguing stuff going into this, and I can't wait till we get closer. And like you said, almost 4 weeks out. This thing is coming, and it's coming quick, and I'm here for it. So don't quote that. But as always, you can listen to this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify. If you're on YouTube right now, hit that like button. Appreciate it. Make sure you drop in some comments or topics if you guys want us to discuss anything that you have on your mind. But let's go and jump into the first one here, Dustin. Florida State lands 2026 quarterback Brady, and this is a big one here, Smigel, which I would have definitely screwed up earlier if Dustin didn't tell us how to pronounce his name, but 6'5", 205 pounds. Remember, this is a 2026 kid, 6'5", 205 pounds, 4-star quarterback, top 5 quarterback in the 2026 class. D-Lou, tell us about this kid right here. I got to see a video a little bit earlier. I believe he's in Jacksonville right now, competing at one of the camps and throwing around the ball a little bit over there in Duval. But he looks really impressive in size, and the ball just kind of comes out of his hand, and it seems like it's pretty effortless, but he's got an arm.
Yeah, like you said, over in Jacksonville competing at the Rivals 5-Star Challenge at the moment, but he actually hails from the West Coast, a California native playing at Newberry Park High School, and he's coming off a really productive, and we're talking about a sophomore season where he passed for 4,222 yards, 52 touchdowns to just 14 interceptions while leading his team to an appearance in a state title game. And, they came up short in that one, but I'm sure he's got a lot of motivation going into his junior season. But man, this is a massive pickup for Florida State, especially to go ahead and get your quarterback for that 2026 class in the boat. You think about recruiting classes and, guys becoming bell cows and a lot of that stuff. And we've seen it for Florida State over the years. They normally go out and get their quarterback early. You think about having Luke Kromenhoek in the boat for so long and what he was able to do. And right now in this current class, Tramel Jones has been committed for over a year. So now you get Smigel really, about a year and a half before he's scheduled to put pen to paper. And, obviously every time you get a commit, you're going to have to recruit them all the way down to signing day. But man, you really like what this kid can do already. Just a rising junior, like you said, with the size, 6'5". I mean, he's massive. And also, shout out to Tony Tokars and Mike Norvell with what they've done flipping that quarterback room, adding talent over the years. You can also include Kenny Dillingham in the beginning of this run as well, because right now this is the 5th straight recruiting class where Florida State could potentially land a blue chip quarterback. And, that also depends on Tramel Jones signing with the program in December.
I had a comment on Twitter earlier this week just talking about the quarterback room going into this upcoming season, and they weren't just fully educated on what that room's going to look like. And, I told them about DJ coming in and going to be your projected starter, but the talent that's behind it just goes to show it. Like you were saying, Dustin, Tokars and what Mike Norvell have been able to do to bring in their own talent that they can develop. But they do this because they go in early and get these recruits and build those relationships. And that's something that, we've talked with Tony Tokars multiple times. We had him on the podcast, we sat down with him before one of the seasons. And, he just says it really goes down to relationships. It happened, point blank with Brock Glenn, with Ohio State, giving him back and getting him over to Tallahassee, flipping him to Florida State. Relationships play such a vital factor, and for sure, definitely in that quarterback room. But yeah, this is a really talented quarterback coming in, and now you could tell you start there, then you get to bridge out and build the talent around it on that offense, of course, defensively, but offense and primarily there, you get to really build a really fun offense around this quarterback with Brady.
And they're off to a really good start in that 2026 class. Obviously, very early on, a lot of time to go in that respective recruiting cycle. But with this pledge from Smigel, FSU moves back up to number 1 in the rankings for Tribe 26. And, you look at Smigel and what he's been able to do his first 2 years at the prep level. I mean, this is a guy, already a top 100 prospect, but I mean, with his size and his ability, if he continues to grow and also, showcases himself at some of these off-season events, he's probably a lock to get an Elite 11 invite at, by the time he's going into his senior year. We could be looking at a 5-star quarterback by the time it's all said and done. So, yeah, like we were saying earlier, good job here by Norvell and Tokars establishing that relationship. He made the decision after traveling all the way from California to Florida with his family for a multi-day visit. So this is a huge one for FSU, and, got to keep that momentum moving forward.
100%. That's something Florida State did do this week. Let's talk about another one. We're going to go on the defensive side here. 2025 defensive tackle Kevin Wynn commits to Florida State, 6'2", 320, big boy, 4-star on 247, the number 8 ranked defensive tackle in the 2025 class per 247 Sports. Florida State has been wanting to build in those trenches, and we have talked about this a whole ton on this show about Florida State has got to bring in some young talent that they can develop, and more of some elite talent, I would say, in that room that you can see someone jump into the rotation earlier, and that's something Florida State has, I would say, desperately needed. That's how I kind of categorize it right now. And this is a really, really strong pickup for Odell Higgins. Got off the boat, picked one up, and now he's back out on the boat, and we'll see if he grabs another. But this is a really nice pickup here, D-Lou, for Florida State, Adam Fuller's defense, and, of course, Odell Higgins.
Much needed win for Florida State in this battle for four-star defensive tackle Kevin Wynn. Because, I mean, we've talked about it the last couple of weeks that, FSU, up until this week, they hadn't landed a commitment in that 2025 class in over 150 days. So, I mean, they were due for one, and Wynn has been someone Florida State at the top of his mind for a long time. And he's coming off that official visit and, finally decided to go ahead and pull the trigger, wear garnet and gold, commit to the Seminoles over Georgia, Texas, and South Carolina, a couple of other programs that he took official visits to. But like you said, Logan, he's got the size. This dude is strong. He's physical. He'll knock your head off. And, especially at the high school level, this is a one-man wrecking crew that can shut down an entire running attack by himself. I mean, you just listen to these stats from his junior season. 70 tackles, 30 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, a fumble recovery, 2 pass deflections, and a blocked field goal. So
he's everywhere.
And especially when you look at the depth on the current roster, defensive tackle, not a ton of established depth there at the moment for Florida State. And who knows, following this 2024 season, I mean, you could have Joshua Farmer and Daryl Jackson making that lead to the NFL potentially. I mean, you never really know at this point. So to get someone who's this talented, top 100 recruit, someone that could, continue to rise in those rankings throughout his final season at the prep level. He's very good. One of the best defensive linemen in this entire class, and a solid, an elite pickup for Florida State.
What do you think, Dustin, on your hand, has caused where Florida State has struggled in this department in the last few years? Yes, you brought in some talent there, but it hasn't been of the caliber of a guy like a Kevin Wynn, I'd say. What do you think maybe accounts to this, where they've struggled here and they desperately need help, and they sort of now kind of, you use a transfer portal here and there, and they've done that, but now you got guys like who you transferred from Mississippi State, like Fabo, now off into the league. You're gonna have to rely on the transfer portal a lot, bring in those veterans and such. You want that pure talent, that young talent, like a guy like Kevin Wynn. What has been kind of the stall there for Odell Higgins and Adam Fuller defensively?
I'd say it's hard to point out the exact struggles because, like you said, you look at what Florida State has done traditionally as far as producing interior defensive linemen, putting those guys in the NFL, constantly having a guy in the defense who, is dominant down there at the point of attack, and having Odell as well and his experience and how much he's been able to do throughout his career. You would think that Florida State would be dominating, frankly, to bringing in these defensive linemen year in and year out. And I know you had KJ Sampson a year ago, and he was a pretty good prospect in his own right, but you look at this last class and you only had 2 3-star defensive linemen coming in and weren't able to land a blue chip. It is good to get Kevin Wynn in the boat, and hopefully that'll create some movement there for Florida State moving forward, because there are a couple other guys in the interior that they're still involved with, and we'll see if they're able to pull out some other big wins on the recruiting trail, like the guy we're about to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it only gets better and better here. Let's go to another big one that was a shocker. D-Lou, you and I were on the phone during this, which was actually pretty funny to hear your reaction, because let's just be point blank and be transparent. You had this kid going to another school, had the write-up ready to go. Sometimes things just don't happen that way, and it is fun, but it's not really fun for you in that regard of trying to get it out, and we got competition to deal with, so we want to get out the pieces early for you guys as well to get the information. So this happened literally yesterday on the phone, and Dustin had the piece ready for a big-time commit to go elsewhere. But let's talk about a 2025 wide receiver, CJ Wiley. And after doing a little bit of homework on him, after Dustin told me to take a look at him, this kid is super impressive. 6'4", 195 pounds, a 4-star per 247, top 15 wide receiver in the 2025 class per the 247 Sports composite. He ends up picking Florida State over primarily here Georgia and Kirby Smart's backyard. Shocked a lot of the Georgia outlets as well that they were on hand for. Completely shocked. Our Dogs Daily site over there with Brooks Austin, who does a great job there covering the Georgia Bulldogs, put out a tweet that he was indeed very shocked by this to happen, wasn't expecting this. But what did Florida State do here and Ron Dugans to be able to land this much of a talented wide receiver here? This is extremely, extremely good get for the Seminoles.
They nailed that official visit, and it was something that we've talked about a little bit, as far as recruiting, where Florida State, some schools like to have the first official visit, and Florida State believes in trying to have that last official visit before the announcement, if it works out. And in this case, they're able to get CJ Wiley in over the weekend, June 21st to 23rd. So, just 2 days before he announces his commitment. And it seems like they were able to do enough on that visit. Mike Norvell, Ron Dugans, Alex Atkins, all involved in this recruitment to help pull out a very big and, like you said, Logan, surprising win over Georgia. We were on the phone and I was like, hey, CJ Wiley just committed, but I had the article written up for Georgia, and I was honestly like, shit, CJ, are you kidding me? But it was a good surprise in the end. Just had to get over there and edit that one real quick so that we could get it out on the site. But CJ Wiley, length, speed, good hands. He is an elite wide receiver prospect, and this is a really big pickup for the Seminoles, coming off a junior season where he actually won a state championship in the Georgia 7A division. So, playing some of those big boy schools, really tough competition. 68 catches, 1,473 yards, and 14 touchdowns. And it seems like he's just getting better and better. One of those guys who has a really high athletic ceiling. And if you can continue to apply that to the football field, the route running, the fundamentals, consistently pulling in the football, tough catches, things like that. I think his best football is definitely ahead of him. And this is someone that Florida State could mold into something great.
I wonder how much Florida State's success, like we were talking about earlier with Brady on the quarterback position role, played a part in this as well for CJ. And I know relationships was also a big one as well too for CJ. But, with Florida State's success in the quarterback room, it's going to attract guys like CJ to come in and play for this offense. I just wonder if that really played a pretty vital role, of course.
Yeah, it is worth noting. He was on campus same time as Tramell Jones Jr., Florida State's quarterback commit. So I have to imagine that there was also, some recruiting there as well to try and get him to join the boat. And it worked out in the end for Florida State to go ahead and pull in CJ Wiley. And with the Seminoles picking up 2 commits in 2 days to start off the week, you're now up to 6 pledges in that 2025 class. Only number 63 in the rankings just because of the amount of players they have committed at this point. But as far as the average ranking, up there with some of the very best in the country. And you have to think as this thing continues to fill out over the coming weeks and months, we'll talk about some announcement dates and guys that are coming up here later on tonight. Florida State going to have a chance once again to compete for a top 15, top 10 recruiting class.
I'm trying to see what I can compare this kid to, and it hasn't really come to me yet on who I would kind of relate this guy's playing style with. Still, younger wide receiver, still got such a chance to grow too as well. Already at 6'4", 195, which is crazy to think of, but he's a natural freak looking athlete as well. But that's just a really good pickup for Florida State and something that it's fun to be on the good side this time of something that's shocking. It's rare for that to happen nowadays on Florida State's side. So FSU fans should be extremely grateful for that to actually happen. And their favor this time. Been through way too many different heartbreaks. That's for damn sure in the last couple of years.
Well, I do think this is one where Florida State, they're going to have to keep battling in this recruitment because, Wiley even said it yesterday after his announcement that, he's kind of keeping his recruitment open. And, Georgia being the in-state program and, being what they are on the field and on the recruiting trail, they're obviously going to continue to try and push for that flip. LSU has been heavily involved. So, I mean, this guy's one of the top prospects in the country, and you can't expect other programs to relent up until he does, or hopefully does, sign with Florida State.
D-Lou, there were a handful of other guys that decided to pick elsewhere too in the last week or so. Who are some names that Florida State was targeting, but might have ended up elsewhere at the time being?
Yeah, a couple names to note. We can kind of start off in the defensive end room where you had 3-star defensive end prospect Nicholas Clayton announced to Wisconsin over Florida State, just a couple days after he had officially visited Tallahassee. And, there were some rumors out there that Florida State's coaching staff decided to kind of pass on this recruitment and focus on higher rated defensive end targets. I don't know if I agree with that take or not, just because, Clayton was someone with a lot of potential, and you do have Javian Hilson committed, but at this point, you're needing to bulk up that room with the potential losses that you could have following this 2024 season. But Clayton off the board to Wisconsin, and then one of those higher rated prospects at Florida State, was hoping to land in this 2025 class. 4-star defensive end Zion Grady ended up committing to Ohio State on Monday. So, I mean, that kind of cuts the board a little bit. There aren't a ton of other guys out there at the moment that Florida State has a ton of traction with outside of 4-star Jared Smith, which, we should actually talk about Grady, I guess, for a second, because he's someone that FSU's recruited for years, an elite prospect and from the state of Alabama. So Auburn, the Crimson Tide as well, have been really involved in this one from the jump. And I think the question was always, was he going to leave the state of Alabama? And instead of going to Bama, Auburn, or Florida State, he ended up farther away than all three at Ohio State. So I guess distance didn't matter as much as people thought. And he made that decision right after an official visit to the Buckeyes. So, yeah, I mean, the defensive end board slimming up a little bit. Another name to know.
Hey, we can take the barking.
Another name to know, 4-star Jared Smith, also from the state of Alabama, Auburn and FSU. I think the two that are probably in the best position right now. And then Jalen Wiggins, a guy who we've talked about before, 4-star defensive end from Tallahassee, though he's committed to the Florida Gators at the moment. He was on campus this past weekend for his official visit. And, I mean, Florida State's still taking their shot to try and keep the hometown kid in Tallahassee. Final decision expected to come, in the final couple of weeks or next couple of weeks or maybe next couple of months. We'll see how it plays out. I think, FSU, they're trying here, but I don't know if they're going to be able to change his mind in the end.
Another thing to note here, too, before we jump into some other things on recruiting, Tramel Jones was in the Elite 11, participated in that in the Elite 11 finals, actually was named to the Elite 11, although this year there's 12 that
I think there's 12. There was 12 last year, too, so I don't.
What's happening? So is this the Elite 12 now? What's going on here? I don't know. We got to fix that. But, yeah, at least Florida State's. Yeah, Florida State's quarterback commit Tramel Jones. Also, too, looking at a lot of the stuff of him in Tallahassee, helping out on the recruiting side and doing a lot of things, too. So turn into a big-time bell cow for his class. But here specifically in the Elite 11 finals, where the top quarterbacks in the high school division go and compete, and was named to the top 12 or 11, whatever you want to say it is. But the top quarterbacks that competed, he is on the top list for that. So congratulations to him. But it just goes to show Tramel Jones, and we were talking about earlier, Florida State, what they're able to do getting into that recruitment early on him. Let's see if that can continue to hold and keep Jones as a Florida State Seminole, as there's always some other schools, including ones close in the state, after a guy of this caliber of talent. But Florida State has done a really good job of diagnosing this guy and understanding how talented he is, seeing that early, and it's starting to show in some of these camps and competitive things like the best of the Elite 11.
And it's the fourth straight year that Florida State has had a quarterback commit participate at the Elite 11 finals. You dating back to AJ Duffy in 2021, and then obviously Brock Glenn at the time, Chris Parson as well. He was committed to Florida State whenever he participated in the Elite 11 finals. you had Luke Kromenhoek last year, and now Tramel Jones Jr. But yeah, to see him go out and perform on the national stage like that, you look at some of these outlets that were out there in Los Angeles watching the 3-day event. A lot of them had Jones consistently in that top 10 mark. I think, I saw him as high as either 6 or 7 on someone's board. But you look at his recruiting ranking nationally, and I think on the 247 Sports, I want to say it's the composite. He's only a 3-star at the moment and like the number 21 quarterback or something like that. So, I mean, you have to hope a performance like this alongside and in front of the best in the country is only going to help him rise. And he was also someone who dominated the 7-on-7 circuit throughout the offseason. It feels like another really good evaluation by Tony Tokars and Mike Norvell, because they picked this commitment up in March of 2023. I mean, well over a year now. And Tramel, I think by all accounts, he should probably be a composite blue chip by the end of the senior season. But like you said, Logan, I mean, Florida really, really trying to push in this recruitment to get a flip from Tramel Jones Jr. He was at FSU for his official visit this past weekend. Hasn't exactly locked things down with his recruitment yet. Seemed like a final decision was set to come at some point this week. So we'll see what he decides to do. But I would imagine that he sticks with his pledge to the Seminoles. Yeah, you're muted up, bud.
What's going on in Gainesville? Why would you want to go whenever your coach is probably going to be gone after 4 weeks? I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking in a certain way. But anyways, yeah, super talented quarterback, and I would really like to see him in person. But super, super cool to see him, though, and the Elite 11 get named up there. Shout out to Tokars and what they're doing.
Huge
program.
But I do want to jump back up there because you kind of cut me off and just went to the Tramel Jones Jr. Elite 11 stuff when I had 2 more guys to talk about that committed to other schools.
Oh, no. Well,
so let's go back to that real quick.
Screw them, though. No, I'm just kidding. That's messed up. But do that and then just go straight into guys that are committing soon, though. So head in that direction.
It's a lot of talking, buddy.
Well, you've got it. You've been waiting all day to do this, so.
Well, yeah, 4-star cornerback Shamar Arnu committed to USC earlier today at the Rivals 5-Star Challenge. He was someone that was at FSU this past weekend for an OV, and I mean they were right there in that battle. USC might have offered a bag after losing a couple of commitments recently and opening up some space in the bank account, but there's still some other defensive cornerbacks that Florida State is involved with at this time. Gregory Xavier Thomas, someone we're going to talk about later in the show, who will be deciding in just a couple of days. We've also got guys like 4-star Ben Hanks Jr., 4-star Jabori Antoine, 4-star Onis Conan Banny, 4-star Tony Williams, who's committed to UCF, and 3-star Jet White, who is committed to Maryland. So some names to know on the board. And then also earlier today, 4-star wide receiver Joshua Moore committed to the Florida Gators over FSU. And this one wasn't a big surprise after he took a late unofficial visit to Florida last week before this announcement. And plus with FSU picking up CJ Wiley on Tuesday. So he's off the board, but there are some other names: Kalik Lockett, Vernell Brown, Dalen McCutcheon, who seems to be trending to FSU following his official visit, Malik Clark, and Dallas Wilson, who is committed to Oregon. But so, yeah, those 4 guys, Nicholas Clayton, Zion Grady, who we previously talked about, are off the board. But there are now some other guys coming up who FSU involved with. They're going to make their decisions over the next week or so. Like I was just saying, Gregory Xavier Thomas, he's going to commit on June 30th. That one is between Florida State and Clemson. Right now, I'm leaning Florida State with the long-term relationships that they built in this recruitment.
Okay. You have to start giving us the positions, too, for these guys, because I need to.
Did I say cornerback?
Oh, no.
Thought I said cornerback.
Probably him, but there's some other guys that I don't know the position, and probably like a lot of other people that I don't. Dallas, what is he? Long snapper, because you like long snappers, so you could be leaning in that direction. I don't know.
Well, I was talking about that when I mentioned that wide receiver Joshua Moore committed to UF, so I was just hoping you'd assume those names were wide receivers.
No.
But it's all good.
Nope.
That's on me. That's on me, I guess.
We'll get it down. We'll get it down. We'll get it down. We're getting close to the season. We're warming up. We're getting things cooked up. Just like what? Can I say this online? Can I say Poochie? Can I say Poochie Coos
I don't.
on here?
I wouldn't. I just.
I don't know if that's a good word to say. I don't
As your
know.
legal counsel, I wouldn't say it.
I don't know. Are you by legal counsel? Then we're already effed. Then we're already screwed if that's the case. But he said, ain't fall camp in 3 weeks. I'm so ready for some Seminoles football. Well, yeah, we're not too far, a little bit over 3 weeks, but it is coming closer with Florida State starting in week 0. The college football season starting a little bit earlier than usual as well. But yeah, fall camp is on the horizon. So it is the time to now get us back on your bookmarks, coming here, hanging out as we get you guys prepped for fall camp, because here in the next couple of episodes, we're going to be previewing fall camp, biggest questions, guys to watch out for, breakout players, position battles to watch, in-depth position by position breakdowns, everything imaginable coming for you guys. So now is the time to go ahead, come on back. I know you enjoyed your offseason, as you should. It was a very stressful season there at the end, but it's time to start coming back. We've got fall camp coming back, ladies and gentlemen. So a lot of coverage coming here soon. Anything else recruiting-wise, D-Lou?
Yes. Can I finish? Jesus.
Oh, more. We're allowing you to finish. We want you to finish.
I just need to take a breath for a second, but
all right.
I only talked about
tank.
I only talked about Gregory Xavier Thomas. He's going to commit on June 30th. That one between FSU and Clemson. I'm leaning Florida State going into that announcement. You've also got 4-star linebacker Zadrius Rainey-Sale. He's going to commit on July 1st between FSU, Washington, and UCLA. And he's someone from that state of Washington. So, the Huskies right there, whereas Florida State all the way across the country. He was previously committed to Washington before Kalen DeBoer took that job at Alabama earlier this offseason. I think right now, after him taking that official visit to June, where he was joined by his mother, I'm going Seminoles into this announcement, which I think would be a little bit of an upset to steal him from the in-state Huskies. So that's what I'm feeling a couple days out. Then you've also got 4-star linebacker Tavian Wallace. He's going to commit 1 day later on July 2nd. This one coming down to Florida State, Florida, Georgia, Arkansas, and USC. Wallace, like some of the other recruits we've talked about tonight, he was at FSU for his official visit this past weekend. I think that's going to be enough for the Seminoles to get that pledge. And finally, 4-star offensive lineman Peyton Joseph. He's not going to commit till July 4th. So we'll be back on here. July 4th next Thursday. We'll be back on here next Wednesday. But figure that's only 1 day before he announces, so might as well talk about it now. This one, some surprising teams. Well, a surprising team, a contender here. FSU versus Memphis, the two teams for Peyton Joseph. And I think the reason Memphis is included here is because his high school quarterback and also 4-star prospect in this 2025 class, Antoine Hill, recently committed to Memphis earlier this month. So I've got Florida State in this one.
Ooh, okay. Early predictions. I like that. All right. But to say, if he just needs to figure out who to pick, just do it whenever they face each other earlier or later this season. Why not? Go and finalize that then, right? But yeah, a lot of recruiting stuff. It's good to have that because it was dry for a little bit, but like we had been teasing and you had been saying, Dustin, it's going to start picking up, and for sure it is heated up now for Mike Norvell and company on the recruiting trail. Let's jump into just the beginning of the fun. So interested to see how Mike Norvell and the staff, they can keep on holding to a lot of these top recruits, because that seems to be the biggest difficult for the staff, is in some regard for some of them, yes, but sticking and holding on to these guys and holding them into the class is something that they've struggled at times with certain players. It's not everybody, of course. We've seen guys that have been lasting in classes for a very long time. But there's certain ones that kind of slip away at some points, and that happens for every college football program. But it's something that has just kind of been a consistency under Mike Norvell's tenure. Let's talk about another big quick hitter that started off the week on Monday. Florida State loses their former director of high school relations, Ryan Bartow. If a lot of you don't know, big hands-on with the recruiting side of things for Florida State and has been since 2021. He took over Carlos Laughlin's gig and he left for Oregon, and then now is actually with Ohio State. But right now, Florida State is no longer with Ryan Bartow. We'd see him all the time at practices. He'd always be on the phone, working the lines, talking with recruits, family members, everybody imaginable, and he'd always be around the moor while ever you're spending time out there, Dustin. Working the relationships and such. But I'm just wondering how big of a loss this is for Florida State. How long was this expected? Still some of these most recent commits and such, it seems like they had to have known that this was coming. But Ryan Bartow no longer with the Florida State football program.
Yeah, I guess I would say it's hard to, calculate how big of a loss it exactly is, because I mean, Florida State, regardless of if Ryan Bartow is a member of the program or not, I mean, they're going to be a solid team on that recruiting trail. And I think in the end, the position coaches have to play the majority of the impact in these recruitments, because they're the ones that are allowed to go off campus and recruit guys and meet with high school coaches and things like that. So I mean, they have to be just as important, if not more important, than the guys that are only allowed to be in the building and interact with guys who are on campus. And obviously they can have the electronic communication still and things like that. But I mean, you also have to remember that Florida State, they've got a general manager in Derek Ray, who's also, I mean, all over that recruiting front and all aspects of it. And, we really don't know the nature of this departure at the time, or, what Bartow's future plans are at the moment. It's certainly intriguing timing, with the program in the middle of summer. And as we talked about at the beginning of the show, the preseason just a couple of weeks of away. You would probably think a move like this would have happened earlier in the off season. So, I mean, don't like to speculate on the nature or anything, but it's certainly intriguing and relevant to bring up.
The timing's definitely interesting. Especially with a recruiting director, you'd expect that to happen, after the signing period in February, maybe for a move like that to happen. But at the same time, a lot of fans have struggled or have complained about Florida State's struggles to close on some recruits. If there's a chance to upgrade, maybe that's something Florida State's looking to do. And at the same time, maybe a little bit of speculation. No, Dustin doesn't like to, but Norvell likes a tight ship, and the ship hasn't been very tight the last couple of years. Maybe this has something to do with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree on that front there. VZ on that, he does like to keep it tight and everything, and maybe they're looking for an upgrade here, and that's just what needed to happen, or maybe it's been something in the works for a while, and just interesting with the timing. Timing just makes it more questionable than anything, like you were just saying, VZ. Usually you have something like that happen after your signing day, but I'm just interested to see how that affects, see if it does. We'll see here. I mean, we're right in the heat of everything going on, as we've been spending the majority of this podcast talking about on the recruiting side. So, definitely something there. And, it wasn't something really announced from Florida State's side. It was something that, we reached out to the program spokesperson, told us this, and, we put it out on NoleGameday.com. So if you guys want to go read that article, go ahead, NoleGameday.com. And Dustin kind of gave as much as we could out there, but there wasn't a full-on announcement on Florida State's side. Correct, Dustin?
Correct. But okay. It's been an interesting offseason for Florida State. I mean, definitely having some, not on field, obviously, but some staff changes within the building. Now with Bartow moving on, you're going to have to replace your director of high school relations. We saw John Garrett, the director of scouting on the offensive side of the ball, leave for a general manager position at Duke earlier this offseason. A couple of other lower level recruiting staffers also followed him out there to work with the Blue Devils. And then graduate assistant Cooper Williams, a guy who worked with Alex Atkins in the offensive line the past couple of years. He ended up taking a position at Missouri. So I don't think there's a better person primed for situations like this than Mike Norvell. I mean, he's probably got a ton of different plans in his head. And I mean, we already saw him make those replacements for John Garrett and Cooper Williams. I think he'll be able to find a quality replacement for Ryan Bartow as well, if he already doesn't have someone in mind.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, let's move on to some fun stuff here with the new video game releasing here soon for EA Sports' college football 2025, whatever you want to call it. But that is going to be a banger of a game to come out. So we're getting sneak peeks like every week now on what we should be seeing in Florida State and, some of the players wearing the number, like everything. It's just like such a cool feeling to see some of these guys that are, I'm sure I couldn't imagine being a player right now and just seeing your name out there and seeing these little tidbits here and the sneak peeks. But we got a few ones this week on what Doak Campbell Stadium is going to look like. A few other things too we'll point out. We also got a ranking here where Florida State was in the top 10 of toughest places to play. That's actually where they ranked Florida State in the game alone. So supposedly that's going to be a big time factor in it, and noise and just the impact. And I don't know what else is, they go off of that kind of ranking, but Florida State's up there. But here's a good look of what Florida State inside Doak Campbell Stadium at night will look like. Some still shots here of Doak. This looks like obviously the Champions Club up here. But I think what stands out to me is two things. So number one is the end zones being filled out. And Garnet, the last couple of seasons, we have not seen that be the case for Florida State. From a lot of things that we're hearing and seeing across EA Sports and all this stuff going on, the programs and schools are being very communicative on what it should be expected for the upcoming season of their venues, stadiums, all this kind of stuff. Could we see return of the all Garnet end zones? Not like it's a major, massive thing, but I personally like it to be this way, and didn't really understand why this was, greened out. I would say just not filled in like it used to be previously.
Yeah, I think they just made a mistake. Honestly, I mean, look at the marching Chiefs.
Well, now I'm getting, I think VZ probably knows, getting some scoop. And haven't been able to confirm this yet. And I think by next week's show, hopefully I can confirm this off of a good, strong source to this. But the marching Chiefs, as you can see down here, are wearing a garnet top and black pants. As we all know, it's usually white, and you've got a little your strays of garnet, gold, whatnot. But this looks, I think there's actually some gold in here as well, too, on the garnet uniform. Supposedly there is going to be an update on the marching Chiefs. Not confirmed anywhere, but the marching Chiefs are getting an update on their uniforms as well. Hasn't been publicly told, obviously, anywhere. And this would be huge news to the marching Chiefs, and big fans. My dad was in the Big Eight, so always was there at the Skull sessions before the games and before kickoff. But I suppose that's a word on the street. Some rumors going around. Don't have confirmation yet. Maybe we can confirm for next week's show. But that's why it looks different. That's why that would be the only reason why. And there's just some people kind of, rumor milling it that's the situation there. If that's what you're about to point out, D-Lou.
I was not about to point that out. I was just saying.
Oh,
it doesn't
look
look
the ACC
right.
logo. It should be a different conference.
That too.
Just the marching Chiefs don't look right. And, you see Florida State's players down there running out of the tunnel, crossing the, 5 or 10 yard line. Then you've got the flag bearers, wavers. I don't know what you want to call them. Either way, they're over there near midfield. Where's Chief Osceola? Where's Renegade?
Yeah, that is true. So coming out from the entrance here should be in this range where Renegade and Osceola are, and he's getting ready and getting prepped to plant the spear. So I don't know. I know that was a big question mark on FSU Twitter as well. Where is Renegade and Osceola? And no, Dustin, the spots on Renegade's fur, is that what you call it? Fur on a horse? That's not spray painted. That's a real Renegade horse.
Maybe a coat.
A coat? Yeah, probably maybe a coat for the horse, probably. What do you think, VZ? If you can give us a...
I would say coat.
Coat, okay.
Coat sounds correct.
Coat for the horse. Gotcha.
Also haven't seen any virtual fans chopping it up.
I thought it was in a later clip.
Oops. Let me see.
I feel like I remember seeing a clip of it, honestly. I know we've already talked about the marching Chiefs uniforms. there's no way they're going to send the Marching Chiefs out there in garden and black wool uniforms for
That's what I'm
September
saying.
football games. There's just no way.
That was my instant thing. That's hot as shit. That is hot as
Like-
shit for them out there in games, and then you're still sitting in Doak performing.
I think it'd be
the longest.
I think it would look great in night games. I think it would look awesome seeing them in garnet and black uniforms.
Yeah.
But for like the Memphis game, which is that's a 3:30 kick, right?
It's noon.
Hell no. It's just, no.
We're gonna have people fall. Our guys in the trumpet's gonna be passing them out there on the 50-yard line.
Here's a screenshot
Michael
right here.
Jackson.
Guys are doing the chop.
There's a chop. We hope it better be the chop.
It
An
like it.
80 overall defense.
So yeah, look at this. So is this some leakage here, gentlemen? So Florida State's, we've known this. Florida State's ranked at number 11 here, but up here, Florida State overall ranking of 84. Offense is ranked at 82. Defense is ranked at 80. Defense ranked at 80 is actually a little bit more alarming to me.
I mean, we said
if this is accurate. If it's
we
accurate.
said about an 84 overall a couple weeks ago, right? I think I said 83, maybe.
Yeah, I think we said 84, 85. Oh, bye-bye.
There goes Austin.
Yeah.
Austin just left us. He's pissed off about these rankings.
Didn't like it, but we said 84, 85. I personally thought the defense would be a little bit higher than the offense coming in, but I'm just wondering how they got an 84 overall when it's an 82 offense and 80 defense.
Yeah, that's why I think
Ryan Fitzgerald and Mastro, man, they must be up there.
Yeah, they're carrying. But yeah, I think it's obviously something's up with it. I don't think that's fully accurate there. Just getting some mock-ups, I would say, to be honest, because that doesn't do it. But
I think we get full rankings Friday, I believe.
Oh, we do this Friday.
Yeah, at least for the top teams. So Florida State should be in that list if they're ranked 11th overall.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah,
Tomorrow is top offenses and top defenses.
Ooh, that they know what they're doing, and they did a good job off of learning about the toughest places to play, which I'm about to bring up here. That has caused a stir all across social media, and I feel every fan base feels like they're getting gypped. But let me go ahead and bring up where Florida State ranked in the top 10 toughest places to play on EA Sports' College Football 25. Number 1 is Texas A&M. Number 2 is Alabama. Number 3 is LSU. Number 4, Ohio State. And Georgia is at number 5. And then we go into number 6 here with Penn State. Number 7, Wisconsin. Number 8, Oklahoma. Number 9, Florida State. Number 10, UF down there in Gainesville. Thoughts on these rankings, gentlemen, because some feel like they got completely robbed. But we'll start out with Florida State here. With these teams here in the top 10, does this feel accurate to you guys in some capacity? And let us know in the chat, too.
I think the 6 to 10 range is about right for Florida State. And especially given recent history. They just lost to Jacksonville State at home couple years ago. That has to be factored in a little bit. So as much as we love Campbell Stadium and as loud as it can get at night, the 6 to 10 range is about right. Now, can you make some arguments about the teams ahead of them? Absolutely. But in the context of the entire thing, I don't hate it.
I think they're in a good spot. I think anywhere from that 5 to 15 spot probably makes sense. And I mean, if you look at the rest of this top 25, there are a couple wonky ones there in those rankings. One I do agree with. Miami doesn't appear in the top 25.
You beat me to it. I was going to say it. To me, the biggest surprise was Virginia Tech. I think they're at like 16 ahead of Utah, which Utah I think is like top 10 in home winning percentage the last 5 or 10 years. And Virginia Tech, while they have Enter Sandman, after Enter Sandman's done playing, everyone gets pretty quiet in Lane Stadium. So
or they just leave. They just leave the stadium.
To see them that high was pretty absurd. And if I was an LSU fan, I'd be pretty upset that they're not number 1. I feel like their Death Valley is as good as it gets. And honestly, Clemson deserves an argument to be in the top 10. They've lost 2 games at home since 2016. I think both of those teams should gripe. Auburn could have a gripe to be in the top 10 because Jordan Hare is a great environment.
Yeah.
No offense to Alabama. I don't think they're like, I just don't think of Bryant-Denny Stadium as a rowdy environment.
Intimidating factor. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
they
stadium
have a
doesn't
good
have
home record because Alabama's been Alabama. It's not because they've been winning. It's not because they have a tough home environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna say Clemson. We were just there. We were there for it.
Yeah.
I was watching some videos just recently of some videos I took of the entrance of Clemson. That mother effer was loud.
It
It was
was.
loud, man. I mean, we were there in 2013 too, when Florida State faced them. I mean, they were trying to break the decibel record in a stadium too. I think that weekend as well when Florida State was there. I mean, it hits a different caliber, and we were right behind too the student section. So we just got the pure heart of what Clemson and Death Valley brings. You got to give respect to them there. I think they should have been 100% in the top 10. And you could have knocked a few of these teams out of there. I think Florida State definitely stays in that top 10 just because of what you have at night with Doak Campbell Stadium and the War Chant. I mean, just being down there multiple times the last few years on the sideline for the last 4 minutes, definitely whenever UF was trying to make an incredible kind of run there to try to beat FSU, and you had that last drive. I mean, Doak Campbell Stadium, as a majority of the listeners here know, it is a different animal when it's under the lights and you've got either a rival coming in town or someone that's just ranked in any kind of capacity. FSU fans show up. So, and the Marching Chiefs, we got to give credit to the Marching friggin' Chiefs, man. One of the best in college football itself. I mean, they're a menace to
Keep
teams.
the uniforms.
Yeah, they're a menace to team. Yeah, keep the uniforms. At least have two options for, like Visa said. You have the white, then you can have the garnet gold and black or whatever it seems like they're showing here. But no, I mean the Marching Chiefs, not even that, but the two in Gainesville, the Marching Chiefs are loud as hell when we were there this last season. So let alone having a full force Marching Chiefs at Doak Campbell Stadium at night under the lights, which we'll have against Boston College to kick off the home season. It's going to be fun, gentlemen. I'm feeling it. Feeling like we're getting close, but some interesting rankings here nonetheless, and it's going to be even more fun to talk about with these offensive and defensive ratings that we're about to see here on Friday, or whatever it is, offense, defense. I don't know. I wasn't really listening.
Yeah, it's both, and then I think like overall rankings on Friday. But I'm excited, man. Only less than 3 weeks out. If you have the early access, which I have the early access, July 16th. I'll be on that thing. I'm torn. Do I like hop on and play the game, or do I have to like do content first and like list out FSU's roster and write it for the site? I'm torn.
I mean, there needs to be a web. We're gonna have to do a whole meeting on that because there's a web of content where you can just blah blah, but you can go into position. Man, I don't think DJ should be able to throw farther than this. Or Lawrence Philly should be more elusive. What the heck? No good backspin skill. Now, there's going to be a lot of fun things that we're going to be able to come on here and chop it up and give our thoughts. And we'll have tons of content going across our socials and on the article side at NoleGameday.com. But it's going to be a super fun game to play nonetheless. So looking forward to it.
Which, by the way, if you don't have your pre-order in, tomorrow's the last day to get all the benefits for it. So
I'm gonna need to do that. I don't have it. So, but I have Xbox Game Pass, and I get this for free. So, but I'm sure I got to pay more to get the.
With Game Pass, you get a discount on the game. Because I did the same thing.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I'm just salty I couldn't get the GameStop pre-order where they've got some different. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but they've got some like different items, I guess, that come with it in the pre-order. But it's only if you have the disc version. And I've got the PS5 digital.
Yeah. Same. I've got the Xbox S, which is the digital version.
Stan here is saying, going back to the Marching Chiefs, carrying a dang tuba and running in circles on the field, wearing a black wool suit in 98-degree weather. No thanks.
Plus that humidity, because it gets so humid in Tallahassee in September and early October. Absolutely not.
Prayers for our people at the Marching Chiefs. I'm praying that's not going to happen to you guys, but please hydrate beforehand if that's the situation. We cannot lose tuba, guys. And then this next one here, something about your hair, man. I mean, they're after you, D-Lou. This is Terrell asking NoleGameday if you ever reach 20,000 followers. I don't know where we could actually use this because we have plenty of 20,000 follower, not to where are we in, egotistical here, but we have multiple social media accounts that are well over 20,000 followers. Can Dustin become bald?
Why?
I feel like it should be
20,000
YouTube based. Like,
subscribers.
yeah, 20,000 subscribers.
I don't want to burn, dude. I'm about to have to go out there for the preseason. I'm going to burn the top of my head.
Just wear your bucket hat. You'll be fine.
I don't
Or
do
wear
well
a
on
No Game
hats.
Day cap, for God's sake.
They're too
Yeah.
small, man. I have a big ass
You
head.
do have a huge head. We got to get you a bucket. Would you wear a bucket hat what about embroidery? I thought you were going to be
Doesn't he have
embroidering
one?
some stuff.
I thought he had one.
Yeah, I don't think we have a No Game Day embroidered one, but he was going to start embroidering stuff. But I would get a bucket hat real quick. Our guy River has his for training camp here in the Bucks, and it saves him. It definitely saves him.
Just crazy. Last week it was too messy, and now I don't know what it is. I just have
Now they just want to chop it all off. They're not happy with you.
Now you're just like Sid from Toy Story.
Jeez.
I'll take it. Last week I looked like a hippie.
You're not? No comment. There's no
That was
comment.
a loud silence.
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, there's some questions about the game coming up. Well, PlayStation do you need for this game? PS5 or any PlayStation? I think any PlayStation.
PS5.
No, it has to be PS5 or the newest Xbox.
Or yeah, they're only
Oh, wow.
making it for the next gen consoles.
Which it's not even next gen. They've been out for 2 or 3 years at this point. It's current gen.
You know what? We're not all made of money like you, buddy.
You have a PlayStation 5. What are you talking about?
I recently got it, and it hurt me big time.
Aren't you? Oh yeah. Goodness gracious. Yeah. Well, we'll be on there and we will be playing that and we'll be giving our thoughts. And hopefully maybe we'll do some live streams and we can get that figured out and get Dustin back on here during the 2020 COVID days. D-Lou was throwing up some live games on here. So I think it'd be super fun to run through the season upcoming.
Or maybe we do a tournament or something, a whole game day tournament.
Yeah.
Get the fans involved.
Yeah, won some prizes. Like I said in the comments earlier, had some of our listeners that always come in here week by week. We will be doing some giveaways here soon, so I highly suggest not missing probably next week's episode. I'm trying to get a giveaway tool going on here. So I see a lot of other live streamers doing it, and I don't necessarily want you to pay for our merch. We'd rather just give it to you so you can wear it. So keep an eye out. Make sure you're tuned in to Hear the Spear on a weekly basis. So we're going to be giving out a lot of stuff. Definitely once we get into the season 2, some really cool ideas I have in mind for our Hear the Spear listeners alone, just for you guys. So appreciate all y'all hanging out with us. We're not done yet for the episode. We got one more thing, including actually 2 more things. Here, a Doak update from Michael Alford, Florida State's athletic director. He was most recently out during a booster event and was giving some updates too inside Doak Campbell Stadium on the renovations going on there that is supposed to be completed in 2025 prior to the season kickoff against Alabama. Alfred said that they are on time and making sure that we're doing everything possible that I can do to make sure that the stadium will be ready in July of 2025. He told the Tallahassee Democrat. He also mentioned a lot of our fan base has been investing in Doak for many, many years, and to see their excitement toward the renovation and the future of what Doak Campbell Stadium is going to be means a lot because they are invested. So, I just saw some pictures and videos out there, and it seems like we've seen a kind of big uptick in, some of the bleachers and the things being put in there for the time being, because the stadium is not going to hold as many as it used to be just because of the constructions and renovations going on right now. But it seems like things are going as of planned right now. Things are moving smoothly, which is a great sign there. It isn't going to be any kind of delay. They're actually hoping to be ready, a month early there in July, and interested to see what this thing starts to look to be, because I know that I've seen some mixed reactions of pros and cons of this happening in Doak Campbell Stadium. But I would have a lot of fans look at what they have in Jacksonville on the stadium there, at least on the home side of the club section there. That's kind of the closest you can get to me that's live right now that you can go check. That is about as close and similar in what Florida State and the construction crew is trying to do there, and what Michael Alford's doing with him and his team. But going to be a little bit different of a Doak Campbell Stadium experience for sure, nonetheless, this upcoming year.
It's a good update. Florida State, they don't really have a choice with this one. I mean, as some of these massive construction projects can go. There can be delays, but I mean, Florida State, they're kind of backed up against that wall. Alabama is coming to Doak Campbell Stadium to play a football game in August 2025. I mean, you have a hard date for this thing to be ready and rocking, to basically have it back to the capacity. Not going to be all the way, like you said, Logan, but I mean, pretty close to what it is now, about 10,000 or so, give or take less. So it shouldn't affect the overall atmosphere. It's going to be different, obviously, with some major changes being made to this iconic stadium. But this Florida State athletic department, they're really trying to take this program into the future, and they believe these moves are only going to help moving forward. And we'll see if it pays off in the end. But they're putting a lot of money into this and the football only facility. And I mean, we're only a little bit of time away until both of those projects are both realized.
Yeah, I know not a lot of fans haven't loved the new changes to Doak, but if the high money wants them, the high money is going to get them, and Florida State needs a lot of that high money. So it's something that just has to happen.
Mm-hmm. I think too, with that is also some renovations that have been asked for almost, it feels like a decade now, from just the inside going into the concourse there, and a lot of updates that need to be done, and plumbing stuff and leaks and all that kind of stuff. I think that's also too going in with the upgrades on maybe the more aesthetic stuff going on outside. And the stadium alone, there's just a lot of behind the scenes too that I think we'll see some upgrades, bathrooms as well. Maybe some internet, maybe some internet for the fans out there. I know that's always been, still don't have Wi-Fi from what I know, at least. I don't think there is good internet. I know there was awful, because I used to do live tweeting out there. I used to just get out my phone and do live tweeting. There was no way I was be able to post a photo or a video, but that's where I do my live tweeting play-by-play. Supposedly it's just gotten worse. Maybe some people in the chat will be able to tell us if there is a Wi-Fi that works. If not, definitely need to get the Wi-Fi. It seems like it's one of the only stadiums that don't offer that, or at least if they offer it, it's completely doo-doo.
Well, if they figure that part of it out, I think any Florida State fan will just accept the changes.
I was going to say, yeah, if you get Wi-Fi going, that hushes everybody up, and they can roll with that, because it's fun being able to post your stuff and show that you're there at the game, and or send a text to family, or all that kind of stuff. So definitely got to get the Wi-Fi going. One last thing before we jump off out of here. Big one here. Former Florida State star Scotty Barnes has signed his rookie extension with the Toronto Raptors. 5 years, $270 million. VZ. Our guy, I must say, not Dustin's guy, our guy, Scotty Barnes, is a multi-$100 million man.
Shout out Scotty, man.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Shout out
Scotty. Shout out to Scotty.
Shout out Scotty. Hopefully we have an elite NIL fund coming in the next few years.
Yeah.
It should be noted, it could be worth $270 million. He would have to make an all NBA team. I believe to get that from now, it would be $225 million. Oh. Either way, big chunk of change for Scotty Barnes. Super happy for him. He is the de facto face of that franchise in Toronto as they move forward, and really, really happy for him. And if you want to spare some change for the poor in Tallahassee, I would really appreciate it.
It's wild, man. Former Florida State stars racking up cash in the NBA. Scotty, he got more money than Devin Vassell, but I mean, both of those guys really getting paid the last 2 years, and we'll see if Patrick Williams joins those two very soon. But obviously, Scotty, he's done already more than I could have thought back during that draft day a couple of years ago. I mean, you got to shout him out for the work that he's put in to become a franchise star for the Toronto Raptors, and it seems like he's going to be shining there for a long time to come. Which,
by the way, I did the math. I don't know if either of you guys saw my tweet. If he gets the full $270 million, former Leonard Hamilton Florida State players will have signed contracts worth over $711 million.
Wow. All but nearing $1 billion. And that
getting close to $1 billion. Patrick Williams, I think, is going to get somewhere in the range of 4 years, $70 million. in the next week or so. So he'll be able to add to that total. Terrence Mann's due for a new extension at some point. Guys are making money.
Yeah. What was Terrence's last contract? I feel like that was a big one.
He signed for 2 years, $22 million. And that was, he signed it with a few years remaining on his rookie deal. So he just hit the first year of that. So his 1 year, a little over $11 million this year. And then he's a free agent again.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, you're the Spirit alum, but two, just a really good guy. So I'm always about getting those guys a bag. But yeah, shout out to Scotty. Any comments here too, D-Lou? We're going to have to start clipping up some things here on what.
Yeah, I meant to go back and find that clip of Dustin talking trash on Scotty.
Get it on audio and just put it right here.
Yeah.
Real well. I really don't think Scotty's going to be really that good.
Hey, like I said at the All-Star break, I did all of this to motivate him, and just keeps bringing in more and more accolades. So honestly, shout out to myself for Scotty getting paid. And if he really wants to, my bank account transfer information. I don't want to say it out publicly, but we can exchange.
DM you? Yeah. DM Dustin Lewis on Instagram. Hit him with that. Anything else basketball related, BZ, or just practically that? I mean,
yeah, just that. I talked about Darren Green Jr. at the beginning of the show. He's had a bunch of workouts with the Wizards, the Trailblazers, I think, and a few other teams. I forget them off the top of my head, but he's had 6, 7, 8 workouts with some NBA teams. But I don't see a scenario he gets drafted tomorrow night on Thursday.
Gotcha.
I didn't see you write any articles about these workouts.
Whoa.
Realistically.
No, but yeah. That's going to do it for this week's episode. Deeply appreciate everybody hanging out with us this week. We'll be back next week on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Should be that way moving forward. Nonetheless, like I said, if there's any more bigger breaking news, we'll go earlier. But appreciate everybody. As always, you can listen to this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify. If you're on YouTube right now, before you leave, if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, because I was saying earlier, a lot of content coming to you guys here soon. And then also, too, make sure you hit the like button and share this with your friends. Get some more of your friends in here, family, and hang out with us every Wednesday evening as we talk Florida State football, recruiting, and basketball as well. But yeah, everybody have a great rest of y'all's week. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you guys next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Peace.